Welcome to Sitcom Showdown, a podcast that reviews classic sitcom episodes and inducts them into our very own Hall of Fame. As usual, one of us has chosen a sitcom episode and the other guy has no idea what it's going to be. Will they already know it? Will they love it? Can they be convinced that it's worthy? Let's find out on the Sitcom Showdown. Hello and welcome to episode 48 of Sitcom Showdown, and this is the first of our listener-requested episodes for suggestions from you. And
Very
hi,
exciting.
Steve.
Oh, hello.
Tell us all about it. What's happening? You got the coin toss for this one.
Yes, that's right. So David Martin on Twitter, it's a shout out to you, sir, for pointing us in the direction of sorry.
What was the
sorry?
context behind
Sorry!
it?
Exclamation mark.
Yeah, if you're searching
To
for
be
it.
precise.
So just briefly, Steve, what's the background behind the suggestion to this?
I think David just commented on.
On Facebook or Twitter?
No, it was on Twitter.
Oh, good, right.
So he just tweeted at us at one point, suggesting we have a look at Sorry.
Oh, good.
18 months later, we're getting around to it. Nothing's ever lost. Okay, so Sorry is the sitcom, and the episode is It's a Wonderful Life, basically.
Okay.
This is season 5 and episode number 6. And I'll just mention that David didn't point us in the direction of a specific episode.
Mm-hmm.
So I've chosen the highest rated episode of Sorry on IMDb.
Right.
So we're getting the cream of the crop here, baby.
Okay.
Let me give you a description of Sorry, and I think this is from Wikipedia. Sorry is based around Timothy Lumsden, who is a 40-something librarian who still lives at home with his domineering mother Phyllis and henpecked father Sydney. Although quite shy around women, Timothy longs to find love and leave home, but Phyllis is always against the idea and constantly manipulates her son into staying at home. Timothy's friend Frank and sister Muriel urge Timothy to stand up to his mother once and for all.
Oh, right. Okay. I always think of Ronnie Corbett as being ancient.
Yeah?
And when he filmed this...
He was in his 50s when he filmed this.
Oh, right. So he's a 40-something...
Playing a 40-something.
Okay, right. As a 40-something librarian myself,
Yes.
I'm bound to get some mileage out of this, and if I'm not, I shall judge harshly.
Yes, okay. Good. This was shown on the BBC network in the UK. It ran for 7 series, Jeff.
That's impressive by any era standard, really, isn't it?
Famous stars, well, let's start with Ronnie Corbett, who stars as Timothy. This role was written for him while he was one half of the two Ronnies.
Ooh.
And his character is, to be precise, named Timothy Christopher Robin Lumsden. Other sitcoms he was in were No, That's Me Over Here, which was created by Barry Cryer, Graham Chapman, and Eric Idle, Jeff.
Ah, luminaries.
Yes, exactly. That ran for 3 series from 67 to 1970. And there was another one called Now Look Here, which ran for 2 seasons or series of 7 episodes each during 1971 to 1973, and that was written by Barry Cryer. And then later in his career, from 2010, he starred in the BBC Radio 4 sitcom When the Dog Dies. The series reunited him, this is why I'm mentioning this, reunited him with Ian Davidson and Peter Vincent, who are the writers of Sorry. And that series says returned to BBC Radio 4 for another 3 series, so that went on for a while. He passed away on the 31st of March 2016 at the ripe old age of 85.
Oh.
And he'd been married to his wife Anne for 49 years.
That's not a bad stint, yeah.
How's that for a statistic? John Cleese once said that Corbett had the best timing he had ever watched.
High praise.
High praise from a high source. I'm going to move on to some of the other actors. Barbara Lott plays Phyllis, Timothy's overbearing mother, who still treats him like a 5-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
William Moore plays Sydney, his father, who is retired and browbeaten. Marguerite Hardiman plays Muriel, Timothy's sister, who's managed to escape the family home. So Ronnie is the only member of the cast who's super well known. Okay. If I was to summarise that. What about you, Jeff? Have you watched this at all before?
No, never.
Never?
Never.
I think I'd looked at 1 or 2 episodes before.
Right, okay.
Tops. Something like that. So we're pretty much newbies at this Sorry business.
Yep.
Okay. Well,
I mean, I'm not even sure I've come across those writers
Really?
before. Or if I've watched one of their other sitcoms, I don't know. Yeah.
I wonder if we'll cross paths with them again in the future. All right, well, I think we're going to go and watch this.
Yeah.
Mother, I'm 44.
You're a baby. Look what happened this week. First, the cat swallowed a tiddlywink. £50 worth of vet fees, thank you very much, because you wouldn't put your toys away.
Mother, I left them out for Muriel's boy.
Who flushed one of my Cornish pasties down the lavatory?
That was Father, Mother.
Liar, liar, pants on fire. They had to dig up half the road. We're still waiting for the bill.
I will pay the bill, Mother, and I promise I shall wear that sweater you knitted for me.
Damn old rotten sweater.
No, it's a lovely sweater, Mother, and I will wear it. And I promise I will burn the tiddlywink, and I shall have one of your Cornish pasties for supper.
I've made up my mind. If there's any more trouble, you're packing, leaving this house.
There will be no more trouble, Mother.
Hello, dearest. Great news. Timothy smashed up the car.
We're back.
Yes.
We're back, and Jeff, someone described this in the YouTube comments as a very confusing episode.
Yeah.
Any comments before we launch into a synopsis?
Yeah.
Can you see what they're getting at?
Yeah, they're based it on the movie It's a Wonderful Life.
Yes.
And presumably that person hadn't seen it, and nor have I. But I know enough about it to know that that's what's going on.
Yeah, you get the idea. All right. Timothy arrives home. He's told to take his shoes off because Mum has shampooed the vinyl. And then we get into some banter between the two of them. We discover that Mum has stacked up his train number books.
Yep.
And we discover that, well, in her opinion, he wasted his youth at the level crossing, taking notes in his books about... Do you know this stuff?
Just train spotting, you write down the trains that come past.
Yeah.
In the early days of cars, people used to do it with license plates. So if a car came into the village or whatever...
You're kidding.
They'd write down the license plate of the
Oh, my goodness.
car.
It really would be a waste of your youth. Dad comes in wearing...
Frank Skinner would be able to tell you all about that, I'm sure.
Oh, yes, I'll have to text him.
There was one person who owned a car on his street or something, so yeah, get in touch with Frank. Sorry, yes, continue.
Yes. So Dad comes in wearing a dressing gown with language Timothy, which is his catchphrase, and he gets called the Ghost of Christmas Past.
Oh.
There's some symbolism in that. We discover that there's been a party the night before with Timothy's friends Kevin, Moo, Frank and Jean. In fact, Moo's his sister, Muriel. To celebrate his 44th birthday. Mum is taking a driving test this afternoon, and she wants Timothy to get the handbrake fixed in preparation for that. And we discover that the highway code that she's been swatting up from was published in 1938.
Yeah, and there's gags attached to all of this, and I know you'll bring some up at the end, but I liked the one with the handbrake's too tight, you can't drive with it on. You're not supposed to drive with it on, Mum. Yes, but I don't want to roll backwards. Yeah. And so, yeah, they
matter of
always
opinion.
have tiny little jokes thrown in almost every single line.
Timothy and Dad arrive at what appears to be a scrapyard, which is also doubling as a mechanics.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the place.
Or vice versa.
Now, there's a sign where he parks, and what does it say? Do not...
It says, don't do no park in here.
Yes. And he very smugly says, oh, double negative, that means I can park here.
Yeah.
So he parks there, gets out to find the proprietor, and have I said that he's there to get the handbrake fixed?
Yep.
He is.
We know Mother's got trouble with the height of the handbrake.
That's right. So while he goes off to find the proprietor, the car gets picked up and crushed. Now, do you remember the last time a car got picked up in a scrapyard in Sitcom Showdown, Jeff?
No, I don't.
That was towards the end of the Brooklyn Nine-Nine Halloween episode.
That's right, yes. Right, put that one up on the spreadsheet.
All right. Yep, notch that up on the spreadsheet. Also, I wanted to mention that first 3 or 4 times I was watching this, I was thinking to myself, why is this such a big deal? I mean, that car is so old and crappy, but So a Morris
It sunk
Minor or
in
something like that. But then I realised, hang on, back in 85, that was probably
Yeah.
fresh off the factory
It was
floor.
probably
or something.
only 10 years old or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, so got to keep these things in mind when you're watching something from yesteryear.
Next thing you'll be saying, why didn't they just get on their mobile and call such and such?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
Anyway, this is a bit of a concern that the car's been crushed because Dad was last seen asleep in the back seat. But don't worry, Jeff, he's okay.
I just thought he was joking about that and he'd made the journey on his own because, and I'll mention this later, but the way he reacts to disaster is so unfazed by things and with little witty comments. Yeah, if a man's father's just been crushed in the back of the car, he'd be totally freaking. Anyway,
Yep.
yeah. Let's,
So what do you think? He's not taking it realistically?
no, maybe that's just him. You know what I mean? I mean, if I comment any further on this, it's going to spoil what's coming up.
Right,
So,
okay.
yeah.
All right, we'll move on. They return home and have to tell Mum that the car's been crushed, so they decide that they're both going to suck up to her in order to soften the blow. She's been looking for her wedding ring, which has been lost.
Oh.
And this is at the end of a week where everything seems to be going wrong. It's not a good time in their household. She's accusing Timothy's friends, Frank and Jean, of stealing the ring, which isn't great. And she announces that if one more thing goes wrong, he can pack his bags. I want to come back to that
Okay.
a bit further down the track. Dad walks in and he completely against the flip. He flips the script and announces straight up that Timothy got the car crushed.
Yeah, we should mention that they had a little rehearsal in the hall of how to break the news, and Dad's carrying flowers to butter her up, and he's supposed to come in and say, "Congratulations, dear, we've
Yes.
got a new car." Anyway, it doesn't go well.
It doesn't go quite to plan. Anyway, this is the straw that broke the camel's back. Timothy goes off to pack, and we later find out that Mum has finished the job for him.
Oh,
So having
she
packed,
is serious about it. then.
yeah.
Holy moly!
So he's packed up. He goes off to the pub, and we find him there having a pint with Frank. And he's sad that his 44 years can be packed into one or two bags. And he then, so he's feeling pretty sorry for himself, and he asks Frank about Mum's ring, and then accuses Jean as well, pretty much
Yes.
of stealing the ring, just to make things even worse. And then he gets booted out of the pub. What's going on? He ends up at World's End Crossing, which is the level crossing where he supposedly wasted his youth. And he's sitting on a suitcase, questioning what's gone wrong in his life. And we get a flashback to the dancing and partying and the speeches at his birthday party in the pub the night before.
Yep.
So we get a nice little flashback. And while he's remembering this and thinking about it, he gets clocked on the head by a boom gate. There's a train coming. He's knocked to the ground, breaks his glasses, gets up and finds a car parked across the line, with a train bearing down on a car and the lady inside. He pushes the car out of the way. Phew.
With feat of superhuman strength.
Yes, but you know how it is when all the adrenaline's
Oh,
flowing
yeah.
and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
We've all done that before. And so he pushes the car out of the way, and having saved the lady, they both head down the pub together. Not exactly sure why, but
Since he'd just been chucked out.
to calm their nerves anyway.
Yeah.
Something like that. But being back at the pub where he's just been kicked out, Timothy's keeping a low profile. Now it turns out this lady knows rather a lot about him. She knows that things have been going wrong. He says that he's wishing he'd never been born. And we discover she is in fact his fairy godmother.
Ah.
Although we don't.
Yeah, it's not stated.
It's not stated.
No, but it becomes pretty clear.
Well, not to him because
No.
he takes a while to catch on with what's going on. But anyway, he wishes he's never been born. She makes his wish come true with a click of her fingers. Then she announces it's his round. And as he goes to the bar to get the round in, he says hello to Jack, who doesn't recognise him.
Or is it Frank?
Well, Frank's behind the bar.
Oh, sorry.
First he
yes.
says hello to Jack.
Yeah, my
Then he
bad.
says hello to
I'm
Frank
getting my
behind the
names
bar.
mixed up.
And Frank's got a moustache on. And we discover he's been working behind the bar for 13 years, which is, well, that's completely wrong, isn't it? And he also doesn't recognise Timothy. And we discover that Jean, well, she's married to some horrible bloke and appears to have become a lady of the night.
Yes, and has a black eye.
Yeah, the bloke that she's married is not a not a nice fellow. So we're told that Timothy hasn't been born, and as we've already said, he can't believe it even when he discovers that he hasn't got a belly button.
Ugh.
What did you...
Yeah.
Did that make you laugh?
Not out loud.
Not out loud.
No.
Just inside.
Why?
Okay. Anyway, he decides he's going to go home because this is all a bit weird, so he wants to go home where things will surely be normal. He goes past a bus stop and he finds Arthur on the bench. Now, Arthur must be like some local homeless guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Local tramp.
Yep, local tramp. And he's on the bench because no one at the library will let him in. Which we discover is something that Timothy used to do. And his friend Dodgy has passed on from pneumonia because no one was there to let him into the nice warm library.
Yeah.
We discover that Mrs. Peabody has been sacked from the library.
Right.
So all these things are going wrong. Now we arrive at home and both Mum and Dad are acting strangely. She's all posh and she's holding a poodle, who we discover later is called Timothy. Dad is dressed up like a security guard.
And he's got a beard.
And he's got a beard.
Yeah.
Yes, even more disturbing. And the barometer on their wall, which had been stuck on Stormy for 25 years, is showing fair weather
Oh, okay.
for once. He goes into the kitchen and Muriel, his sister, comes in and she's acting like Timothy. She's dressed the same way and she's interacting in exactly the same way he does. And she even gets a language Muriel.
Yeah.
Yep. And she's
And
saying
she's a
sorry,
librarian.
like she's apologising to
yeah.
the furniture for banging into things and that. And she's a librarian.
Yeah. So she is him in this universe.
Exactly, that's right. And he's trying to convince them that he is their son and he is her brother. And he goes into the hallway to the drawer to find, I think it's his birth certificate, something like that. And that's where the fairy godmother appears, and he starts begging her to make him born again. And with a whack over the head from Mum's umbrella, because she's entered the hallway and she's saying how he's a bit of a mad person.
Mad stranger, get out of my house.
Yep. Mad
Bonk.
stranger gets whacked over the head with the umbrella, and we cut back to the level crossing where he's getting hit by the boom gate.
Again.
So he's wished
Yeah.
to be born again, back at World's End, getting hit on the head by the boom gate. His glasses are broken.
Yeah.
He's recognised by the priest. This makes him very happy.
He's back in the real world.
Yes. And the train goes past, but it is the wrong way. I don't know if you mentioned that.
Oh, no, I didn't even see that.
But the car is not there. He's a bit concerned that this lady's car's and she have just gotten smashed up, but the car's not there. So this is all very good. And he says, I've got a belly button, which confuses
The priest?
the priest no end.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a bit eccentric.
He bumps into Mum, who is taking her driving test, and potentially derails the test. And then, but then later at home, we discover that she's still passed the test, and he says that he'll buy her a new car. And she says, what about the wedding ring? Now everyone comes in, and they're all in the room, and he says, I'm going to take everyone down the pub. So everyone's really happy about that. But Mum says, Timothy, you've got to finish that Christmas pudding first before you go down to the pub with us all. So he tucks into a bit more of the Christmas pudding to be obedient, and we discover the whereabouts of the wedding ring. He's just swallowed it.
And that's the end.
The end.
Aye.
That seemed like it went past fairly quickly.
It did. And we checked the count on it. It's 29 minutes. So you don't get much more of a full-length sitcom than that. They got every second out of it.
Now, I don't know if you've given any thought to this scenario where we're basically considering someone else's pick for the Hall of Fame.
Right.
But it seems to me that an episode that's nominated in this way has got its work cut out for it, because although I'm presenting the material,
Yeah.
I'm not really...
It hasn't been selected on the grounds that this episode is Hall of Fame nomination. It's a suggestion to check out the sitcom.
So I've brought the highest rated episode of a sitcom that ran for 7 series.
Yep.
However, unlike the normal situation where I bring forward something where I'm already convinced, I've just got to get you across the line, or vice versa. Basically, this episode's got to convince 2 of us, so I think it's coming from behind, so we'll see how we get on.
Fair enough.
Yes.
And in our normal format, of course, one person's very familiar with the sitcom being presented. They're able to work a certain amount of magic or emotional blackmail or whatever they need to do But in this case, it's unfamiliar to both of us.
Yes, that's
All
right. So I think the odds are stacked against it.
Hey.
But let's see how we go.
So what I want to do first, before we get on to anything else,
Yes.
is, and I always like to, as we brought up with the age thing before, they actually brought this up in the episode. And because it's Timothy, he's just turned 44, and it's a bit embarrassing for Mother because, people think she's 53. And great gag is that Timothy says, well, why do they think that? And she goes, because I tell them. And so, Mother's only basically 10 years older than him. And then irresistibly, I couldn't help looking it up. And the actress playing Ronnie Corbett's mother is, in fact, in real life, 10 years older than Ronnie Corbett. So I don't know if the writers were writing that in, or it works in any family sitcom, I think. But it's a bit of a...
As an aside, there were a couple of jokes about his mum getting, hit on by people.
Yeah.
There was a joke about her getting her bottom pinched in 1937, which I'll bring up later. And then there was also a joke about how she remembered having her wedding ring on yesterday because she slapped the milkman.
Yeah. Okay, I've got that one in my list of top gags. Yeah. So she doesn't mind dealing out a bit of corporal punishment to anyone.
She's an attractive woman for her age.
Yeah. And another thing I wanted to do was look at the writers. And we clicked on one Wikipedia link, and it turns out that one of the writers of this
exhaustive
research has written for Fresh Fields,
yes,
and British Empire.
Okay, thumbs up for the British Empire.
Yeah,
Fresh Fields.
Yeah, I love the cast of Fresh Fields.
Unsure
though. Anyway, yeah, sorry, I'll now hand it back
Fresh
to
Fields.
you. Yeah, Fresh Fields sounds like a toilet spray, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
How did we get onto this?
It's like a Canadian forest.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've done that. Let's talk a bit about the plot. Now, it's not a complicated plot, but if you haven't seen It's a Wonderful Life or read A Christmas Carol, you might find this Yuletide intervention of a supernatural being and events then happening in a parallel universe for a period of time a bit confusing. And one of the things I do really like about this episode is the little tips of the hat to A Christmas Carol and It's a Wonderful Life.
Ah.
Shall I give you some?
Yes. I mean, you've seen both of those, yeah? Or read?
No, I'm not really familiar with A Christmas Carol, but I've done exhaustive research.
Right.
When Dad comes in to the room in the first scene, he calls him the Ghost of Christmas Past, which is out of A Christmas Carol. And there's also a flashback. There's flashbacks in A Christmas Carol. Mm-hmm. There's a flashback to the day before, which is his birthday. He's making a Christmas pudding, but it's not Christmas time. But it's a nod to those two stories which take place at Christmas time.
So, sorry to sound uninformed and thick here. So, It's a Wonderful Life is also a Christmas movie then?
Yes, exactly. That's why we watch it.
I get you.
At Christmas time every year.
I thought it was just some brilliantly life-affirming, make you feel better that could be watched. And a Christmas movie.
And Christmas.
Sort of like Die Hard.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Without the machine guns.
Yeah.
So we get Timothy making a wish while his mum is making the pudding, instead of throwing a rock through the window of the old Granville house, which is what they do in It's a Wonderful Life when they're making a wish. Instead of Clarence the Angel jumping in the river to have George rescue him, we've got the fairy godmother's car getting stuck on the level crossing and getting saved by Timothy. And I like the way Mum says he wasted his youth at the level crossing, and incidentally the name is World's End Crossing. Man, that's deep. And but this is where he gets clocked on the head by the boom gate, which starts the intervention by his fairy godmother, and ultimately it's where he decides, on the basis of what he sees, that his life has not been wasted.
Very good.
If that's what's happening here.
I think that's what's happening there.
No,
okay.
Anyway, we'll talk more about that. The only other thing I had about the plot, you might have some more about the plot.
No.
is I like the way the wedding ring being found in the Christmas pudding ties things together nicely at the end of the episode.
Oh, yeah. Yep. They set up a lost thing. They find the lost thing.
Where did we get to? So you had nothing else on the plot?
No, nothing on the plot.
Okay, you're passing on the plot.
Yep.
All right. What else have you got then?
Well, let's say something about, my impressions of the character rather than gags. So Timothy's having not seen any other episodes, it's a bit tough. But he's clearly a character who's got a great sense of humour. I think he's got tremendous wit. So he'll get into a conversation, Mother will say something, and then he can come straight back with something. And
This is his coping mechanism, right?
Ah, okay. Very good. Right. That helps. So when he's at the pub, he's the same with everyone, and it's what I was saying earlier about he's faced with these terrible... I mean, if my car was being crushed, I'd be freaking. And then if my dad was in the back of it, I'd be freaking 10 times worse. And he's all, very sort of...
Father? Are you all right, Father? One knock for yes, two knocks for no. Father!
And has a couple of quips about it when he's talking to his dad, who comes out afterwards. And actually, I will throw in a gag here, because this is one moment that did make me laugh out loud. So the car's now a cube.
Yes.
And it's sitting there, and Dad comes over and goes, all right, I've been in there and done some stuff. Where's the car? And Timothy just motions to the car. And Dad sees it, and he goes, have they done the handbrake?
Yeah.
And I thought that was top quality, that gag. That was a cracker. But yeah, it's just the way he reacts to things. He's not fazed by much. So, and then after his near-death experience, where he's almost got crushed by a train, he's flung himself forward and his feet are so near the railway tracks, he looks back and goes, crikey, if I was 3 inches taller, I'd be 3 inches shorter.
Yep.
Which is not only a fantastic gag, but this is just typical of what he does, is a near-death experience, and he's got a merry quip. So, yes, that's an observation about his character.
Mm-hmm.
And just in general, I didn't get much of an impression of Frank or Jean, but certainly with Mother and Father, in a lot of family sitcoms, you get characters who are just ciphers, basically, but you really get the mother's personality. And they've given her several facets, so that's pretty good. Dad's got less of a personality, but maybe that's just not in this episode.
Yeah.
So the characters are well drawn, I think, and maybe that's down to the strength of when you're casting older people, you can get very experienced actors who in Britain have probably done years of stage work and played millions of roles, and they can give you some quality character work. Over to you.
Well, I'll run through some gags. There's the one that you missed, which was about, I thought it was funny that she shampooed the vinyl, or whatever it was. Like, that was obviously, hip happening thing to do.
Okay.
Back in the 80s, and she says, the whole house smells like a Canadian forest. And Timothy says, ooh, lumberjack sweat and beaver droppings. Then he says, this is a classic. At the level crossing, he once saw Sir Nigel Gresley coupled with the Duchess of Montrose. Which is obviously a gag about, it's trains being coupled. So it gets language, yes. Timothy. But they're actual trains, Jeff.
And you've looked...
They're real trains, yes.
Excellent. James May would be very proud.
Oh.
Yeah. So it all makes sense to me now, because I was staring at you blankly for a minute there. I was thinking...
And I had a mad smile
on my face. If those two posh people were in a carriage whizzing by him, how would he see them coupled together? But there you go. Oh, I like it. Okay, points.
Okay.
That's not a railway joke, by the way. Points. Thank you.
The highway code that his mum, we've already said the highway code that his mum is swatting from is published in 1938. And he says that the left turn in it is being indicated with a riding crop.
Yeah. I'll better cross that one off my list then. No, that's a cracker, that is.
There's a series of double negative jokes, which these double negatives which are on signs. Being a librarian, Timothy obviously has to comment on those.
Yeah, he's a pedantic
librarian.
Yeah.
You know how they are. Don't do no parking here, which we've already talked about. Okay, so there's the gag where Timothy mentions Frank and his mum says, Frank Baker? I never liked him. His father pinched my bottom in 1937. So it's funny that she remembers that detail from 1937. And Timothy says, well, he brought it back, didn't he? It's funny there because she happens to be bending over while
he's saying it.
They're having this conversation. I'm sure that was intentional. when he's trying to get his mum and dad to recognise him, he says, "My name's Lumsden. Lumsden." She says, "Oh, it's the same as us, but double-barreled."
Yeah.
Jeff's crossing another one off his list.
I am, totally. You're pinching all the good gags. So
Right, come on, you go
the
for it.
benefit of this, though, is that it proves that they're universally good gags, if we've both written them down. I know we're not the universe,
Yes,
but...
we're proving universal
yeah.
truth, but I'm also stealing all the things off your list.
So they're objectively good jokes, and the thing I like that, that would work. Language jokes like that work in any sitcom. So it's always good fare, I think. Another gag is with the old back to where's the car, have they done the handbrake? When the claw comes down and grabs the car and he's lifting it up into the air and he's just watching it be put in the crusher and it's halfway through being crushed and he goes, "No, stop, all the shopping's in it."
Yeah.
And then he goes on to say about
not dad being in it.
he doesn't want to go home without the shopping. And
Mum would be really annoyed if the shopping
yeah,
had been crushed inside the car, but
blimey.
if Dad was in there at the same time, well,
you cut your losses.
yeah.
So yeah, I only laughed out loud 3 times at this episode, but that was them. They were pretty cool.
Oh.
Right, and that's all the highlight jokes off my list. Have you
Right.
got any left over?
Yeah, only a few.
Okay.
When Muriel is doing her impression of Timothy, she says that Mother's been having her snakes permed down at the hairdresser.
So she's Medusa.
Did you like that
Yes.
one or not?
Yeah. No, I did like it. It didn't make me laugh.
I like the bit where he says, he's exclaiming how he's got a belly button, which completely confuses the priest. That kind of made me laugh. And I like the bit how when Frank... Hang on, no, not Frank. His brother-in-law, can't remember what his name... Kevin?
Yeah, Kev.
Kev.
That's the
When
dude.
Kev comes in at the end of the episode, he's about 6'5" or something like that.
He is.
Which...
Standing next to Ronnie Corbett.
Yeah, standing next to Ronnie. That made me laugh. Okay, I'm at the end of the gags.
Right.
It's one of those things where you've got to play it a bit serious to get the dramatic effect that you want.
Yeah. And it does that. They got a good balance in this, actually. With the introspective, valuing your life stuff and then just silly jokes.
Yep.
Yes. And again, before you go into your conclusion, this isn't the typical episode. This has obviously got a bit of a homage to Christmas Carol and It's a Wonderful Life. So by choosing this episode, you're not judging the sitcom as a whole on its merits. But that's not what this show does.
Even though it's the top rated one, it's obviously not your average episode of Sorry.
No, it's not. Or
Anyway.
maybe it is.
What did we think of it? Well, I think it's obviously technically good. There's no dud gags. There's some gags that didn't make us laugh as much as others.
No,
And
there's none that made me groan, put it that way.
There's no groaners in there.
No.
So I like the way it's put together. I think Ronnie does a really good job of acting the whole thing. He's very naturalistic, even when you watch what he's doing with his hands as he's acting, and he rephrases things, and he does all sorts of interesting things. with
So he
his
looks very
delivery.
comfortable.
Yes, but I can't help finding the situation annoying, and which might be why I've never watched this extensively before.
Being trapped at home with your parents,
Yeah,
with your life not going anywhere sort of thing?
exactly.
Oh.
Like watching that for 7 series. Would
Yeah.
just about be enough to make me tear my hair out, I reckon.
Because you'd be saying, do something, do something.
Yeah, well, in
So-
this episode, and this is what I was trying to get to before,
Yeah.
he's been kicked out of home,
Yep.
which is presumably the very thing he's been waiting for his whole 44 years.
Yeah.
He's got the golden opportunity, and he turns
What is
around
it?
and decides to go back home.
And what was his plan? Go to the pub, and then what was he going to do? See if he can crash at Frank's or something, but he got Frank offside.
Well,
Frank's
he
not
goes to
talking
the pub.
him. Yeah.
He says something. Oh, hang on, let's backtrack.
Okay.
Let's go back to the scrapyard.
Yeah.
I mean, he's such a smug git about this double
Negative.
thing. He
Does the opposite of what the sign,
obviously knew
don't
what
park
the sign
there.
was trying to say.
Yep.
He parks there.
Yep.
The scrapyard guy says, right, that's a car that needs to be scrapped. Scraps it.
Yep.
He creates this stupid situation for himself.
He's the architect of his own misery.
Yeah. Then he gets to the pub after he's been kicked out of home, and he instantly winds
His two friends up.
his two remaining friends up, and he actually says to Gene, "Oh, suppose you stole the ring so you could buy net and curtains for your new
Yeah.
place."
Which
It's
is
like,
what-
he's just parroting exactly what his mum said.
Yeah, his behaviour was mystifying and annoying too.
Yeah, and then you get towards the end of the whole parallel universe bit.
Yep.
And he's saying to the fairy godmother, I want to be born again. I want to be bullied and annoyed. And he's saying Muriel's getting all the attention.
Yeah.
But it's all the kind of attention that he
hates.
Presumably hates.
Yeah.
He's trying to get away from. So
it's about making you grateful for what you have. And if what he's got is constant annoyance and bickering with his mother, I don't know. Maybe it taught him to be grateful for it. But yeah, I know where you're coming from.
So in conclusion,
you like the technicalities of it and the acting and all these sorts of things.
Everything's well done. I just don't want to watch it.
You don't want to put it in the hall. Yeah, exactly. Or put it in the Hall of Fame.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
you're on the fence. That's my job.
Have you put things forward that I've put into the Hall of Fame because I can see that they're technically top shelf, but I wouldn't want to watch?
Oh, wow.
Do you have to want to watch it to...
You've opened up a whole can of worms here, subgenre of shows that you can see are very good and why they're highly praised, but they absolutely drive you insane and you would not want to spend a second watching them. That's not what you specifically said about, sorry, but I'm just talking about the idea in general. Yeah.
Well, what do you... I've given my rough outline. What do you think?
No, none of it annoyed me. None of it made me groan, as I said earlier. But at the same time, I think, okay, I can appreciate it had good gags. I liked it, but it's not something that I would nominate. I guess on that...
Well, in that case, you don't think it is?
I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed watching it. But, yeah, it's not something I'd nominate to go into the all-time Hall of Fame. It puts you in a tricky position to say that, though, because I've nominated some stuff that I wouldn't expect anyone else to put into the Hall of Fame.
But did it get into the Hall of Fame?
No. But it's in my Hall of Fame.
Well, so if you're saying no, it doesn't get into the Hall of Fame, then I don't even
need to do anything. that
Genius.
Yeah. That gets you off the hook, doesn't it? Yeah. So in summation then, I think I'll speak for us both and tell me if I'm wrong.
Right.
Very much appreciated all its attributes. Got some good chuckles out of it. We can see why it ran for 7 series, but it's not going to enter the Sitcom Showdown Hall of Fame. But I'll definitely give it a thumb up. Yeah.
A thumb. All right. Thanks, Jeff. I agree with that summation.
Oh, good. Glad I could help out. I'll take the bullets. It's all right. Yeah.
Oh, you were gentle on that compared to Final Space.
Well, quite. Well, this is better than Final Space.
There you go. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, everyone. And what are we doing next time, Jeff? Have you made a decision?
No,
it's got to be something from Blackadder 4.
Very hastily, I'm going to choose Episode 2, Corporal Punishment.
Ooh, good choice.
In which a carrier pigeon gets shot. Speckled Jim. Yes, because it's the most typical of...
Delicious. Plump-breasted pigeon.
Yes. Anyhow, let's not get into reeling off all the good lines of that. But yeah, I think it's one where they don't have to go somewhere else apart from the courtroom. There's no guest stars because I was very tempted to pick Private Plane with Rick Mayall and Adrian Everson. But yeah, I consider it the most normal and grounded of the episodes. And so let's see how that goes.
All right, we'll give that a run.
Yeah, so if anyone wants to comment on Blackadder Goes Forth and the episode Corporal Punishment with the Flanders Pigeon Murderer, then please get in touch with us at Sitcom Showdown on Twitter and Facebook. And if you wish to email, you can do that at sitcomshowdown@gmail.com.
That would be tip-top.
Yes, and if anyone wants to say anything about Surrey, same deal. Yeah,
yes,
sorry.
We'd like to hear it. Yes. Sorry. Hang on, what's the deadline for this comment, Jeff?
Okay.
If they want to comment on Blackadder.
So the deadline will be Saturday, the 23rd of March, 2019.
Yep.
Yeah.
That'll give us plenty of time to get organised.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So please do, and thank you for downloading, thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.
We'll sign off. See you, listeners.
Bye.
Join us next time on Sitcom Showdown when we'll be putting another 5-star episode under the microscope. And in the meantime, you can contact us with feedback on Facebook, Twitter @Sitcom Showdown, or by email sitcomshowdown@gmail.com.